Well, let's get more analysis now. Joining me now from the capital Seoul is South Korean commentator Joung Hwang. Thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. I know it's the early hours of the morning there, but what a dramatic night. It was sort of the shortest implementation of martial law, but the political fallout of this is going to be huge.
Yes, I fully expect President Yoon to be pushed out or resign. Whether it will take days or weeks or months, that's hard to predict. But I just don't see him digging out of this hole that he has dug for himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he fast-tracked his own demise by doing this. And does it feel like, certainly from what his own party is saying, is that he acted unilaterally?
It seems that very few people were involved. Most of his party members seem to be taken really by surprise. His own party's chairman actually immediately condemned the declaration, called it unconstitutional within minutes of him declaring martial law. So whether it was a communication breakdown or whether he and his small group of advisors thought that with their own initiative and presidential powers that they could just take over South Korea, I don't know. But clearly, their common sense is not really, consistent with what is known as the current, consensus in Korea, South Korea, as of 2024. It almost seems like they were living in 1980, basically.
Yeah, I guess what this does prove, though, is that South Korea's democracy is strengthening and has been strengthened by this, because its institutions were tested tonight, and we saw people power. We saw the South Korean people say absolutely not. We saw parliamentarians come out and say this is not what we want, and he had to back down, as did the military.
Yes, I mean, the worst scenario I feared as I saw all these scenes, unfolding on TV was that what if the military, in its blind obedience to the president, actually tried to arrest a whole bunch of the lawmakers? Basically, in the original declaration, President Yoon called all his opposition lawmakers as anti-state communist sympathizers. So clearly there were some orders, and if you look at the martial laws, order number 1, I mean, they were actually going to paralyze the parliament, which is actually unconstitutional, because Korean constitution says that parliament actually has the final say whether the martial law goes forward or not. And basically, I suspect many of his police commanders and military commanders were not all that enthusiastic in carrying out the order that was coming from the president's office.
How much of those orders were coming from the Defense Ministry themselves? Because we are getting reports that perhaps, this was a suggestion from the Defense Ministry to the president.
Right. I mean, so that's the current rumor, basically. I mean, there's nothing definite, and I'm sure we probably will not get the full picture. Everybody will be trying to sort of cover up. I mean, this was a massive failure. Clearly, people were making decisions were completely out of touch with the reality of South Korea as of now. But the current thinking is the defense minister, who used to be the president's chief of security, and he was with him throughout his presidential campaign. So one of the closest aide to President Yoon at this time, Minister Kim Yong-hyun, the thinking is that it was him who was actually pushing for the main advisor to the martial law idea. But of course, it was President Yoon himself who endorsed it, who actually came to the Korean people and said, trust me with the martial law. Of course, it was just a laughable proposition. So why they thought that this was going to actually, fly and be accepted in the Korean society will remain a mystery to me and to the Korean public for a long time to come, I think.